Well, welcome back, everyone. Well, you hear me say it all the time. We are so fortunate that we live in a part of the country that just defies description sometimes because of its beauty and its history. And anybody in Warren County certainly knows that the Lake George area epitomizes what I just said. Joining me today is the executive director of the Lake George Land Conservancy, Jamie Brown. Welcome, Jamie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Jamie and I'm lucky. We're lucky we made it to the set. Actually, we were sitting in my office before, and I think we could talk for a day. That's what I think. The Land Conservancy is an amazing organization. Tell me first. You joined January, right? This is a fairly new position for you.
That's right.
Okay.
I basically came here. I grew up in New Jersey, and before this, I was the National Director of Land Protection for Ducks Unlimited down in Memphis.
Jamie said something to me. I said, what did you do? What's your background? He said he's a recovering lawyer. That was great. Well, want to know something? Having skills of understanding how the law works and being able to negotiate and whatever is probably very helpful to you in this role.
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
Sure. A lot of the transactions are complicated. We deal with a lot of different things. We deal with straight-out purchases. We deal with something called conservation easements. Mm-hmm. It's an agreement with landowners where they own the land, but there are certain restrictions put on the property in perpetuity. So there's also a lot of things with the government, state government that we work on. There's a lot of different aspects to what we do that involves a lot of legal aspects of things, so it definitely comes in handy.
Well, you know what? My wife and I own a home up in Hague on the lake, and the Conservancy purchased a beautiful tract of land directly across from us, right over in the Glen Burnie area from the Adirondack Camp down, if you know the lake. And it just, the shoreline alone defies description. It's just so beautiful. And, that's a perfect example of what the Land Conservancy does. They outright purchases of land, right? But management of land also. And it doesn't necessarily have to be on the lake, but in the Lake George region, right?
That's right. We work throughout the entire watershed. We protect all sorts of types of property, whether it be scenic or has recreational values, protects the water quality, habitat. We have a pretty broad mission. Sometimes we purchase land, sometimes we'll do a conservation easement. Right now we have 13 preserves all around the lake. They're open for hiking. We also help the state as far as managing some of their properties and trails there. I think altogether we have about 35 miles of trails that we manage.
You hear a lot of terms about preserving this land, and the one thing that always sticks in my mind about this, Jamie, is that once it's gone, it's gone. So it isn't like, it gets developed and you can take it back and, it doesn't work that way. You used a phrase that I thought was very appropriate. You said, it isn't that you're against development, but it has to be smart development. I think it's a great way to phrase that. Explain a little bit to me about what you mean by that.
Sure. I've heard the term, too, that they're not making any more land,
That's
similar
right.
to that idea. So the way that we look at it, we want to protect the places where it makes sense to protect, and development should be where it makes sense to develop. In towns where there's existing infrastructure, we're all for the economy being strong around the area. It makes total sense. But the idea of creating new infrastructure and new roads where maybe it doesn't make sense, where it might spoil a scenic vista or disturb habitat, maybe it's something to reconsider. And we work with willing landowners, so it's not like we're taking land away from anyone. We want to purchase land if we can, or if someone wants to donate it. But the idea, again, is put development where it would belong, in a hamlet, in a town, where it makes sense, or in a place outside of a town, if that makes sense, if there's existing infrastructure, whatever it may be. Because that additional infrastructure can hurt the lake, hurt the environment. There might be additional salt from that. There might be there's additional cars, things like that. So we're willing to work with landowners. We'd like to work with the towns. We'd like to try to figure out what makes sense for landowners, for the towns, for the area, so that there can be development. But at the same time, we can protect the lake and all the precious resources around it.
Gotcha. I know firsthand because of a piece of property that you acquired was open to snowmobiling and open to hiking. Again, it doesn't mean clear cutting. You go in, you manage a forest, actually helps the forest grow and helps protect the surrounding areas. You've got a couple of projects that you're working on. I know some of them you can't really talk about because you're in the process of negotiating them. But one of the ones that stands out to me is right around Anthony's Nose.
That's right. So we're working on an initiative called the South Mountain Initiative. The idea is it would be protecting the ridge from the Anthony's Nose Flat Rock area all the way up to Mount Defiance, owned by the fort. People may not know this, but that actually is all South Mountain up there. And people also may not know this, but that's not really protected. Again, people look around the lake, oh, all this is state land, it's all protected. That actually is not protected. We're trying to work between some acquisitions, some trail easements, and some conservation easements to see how much of that ridgeline we can protect and see if we can get a connected trail all the way up that way. We just had some access that we purchased to get better access up to Anthony's Nose, so one could start there, go all the way up. We also have other preserves just south of Anthony's Nose where people can really enjoy some great hiking, different habitats and things. So it would really be a great connecting piece all the way up that side of the lake.
I gotcha. You know, the fall appeal is going on now for the Land Conservancy. Many of you may have received this in the mail. It's a mailer. And it's what we can do to help them in their mission of conserving the land around the lake and the Lake George region in the watershed. It's fundraising. You need straight out fundraising, right?
That's right. In order for us to do what we do, in order to buy these pieces and work with landowners and protect all this and frankly provide services to the people who live here and come here in the form of trails and things like that, yes, we need some money to purchase this land and to do what we do. And that's why we sent out the fall appeal. The other thing too with that, as we mentioned, it's not just about necessarily buying land and things like that. I mean, people come to us from all over and who have been here forever, and they talk about their memories. They talk about going out on these trails or going out on a particular piece of property and having these wonderful memories of generations of going out there. So we think of it as really protecting their memories and preserving their memories and their stories about the lake. So we want to really help them to enjoy this place forever, and their kids and their grandkids and things like that. So that's kind of what this money is used for.
Boy, nothing says it better than that. So Jamie, thank you for coming in. Good luck with the fundraising, and please, this is the time of year to help this organization set their agenda for next year and for all of the years beyond. Thanks for coming in, Jamie.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.